Now call to order. Chrissy, would you please call the roll?
Calling the roll, Mr. Jones.
Here.
Ms. Conwell.
Here.
Ms. Brown.
Here.
Mr. Schron. Mr. Schron is absent. Mr. Miller.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Chrissy, has anyone signed in for public comment related to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chair, no one has signed in for public comment related to the agenda.
All right. Can we have an approval of the minutes from our May 18th meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the minutes are approved. Well, we have one resolution to deal with today, and this is our Fatherhood Initiative contract. So at this time, Mr. Grimes, would you come forward and comment on this item?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, do you want me to read it into the record?
Please do. Thank you.
Resolution 2016-0100, authorizing amendments to agreements and contracts with various providers for the Cuyahoga County Fatherhood Initiative for the period 7/1/2014 through 6/30/2016 to extend the time period to 6/30/2017 and for additional funds.
All right. Thank you.
Hi. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and the rest of the council members on the committee. My name is Al Grimes. I'm the director of Cuyahoga County Fatherhood Initiative, and what you have here are the 12 programs that we fund. The initiative has basically 4 goals: to promote the importance of fathers being involved in their children's lives around the county, and we constantly get the word out. If you are involved, stay involved. If you're not involved, get involved. Second thing we try to do is make sure that when fathers come to the county for services, they're treated in a father-friendly manner, that they're treated, equally to moms when parents come to the county. So some of the programs, deal with that. Then the third thing we do is we fund programs to help fathers meet not only the financial needs of their children, but the emotional needs. Because we know if dads are there all day financially, if they're not there emotionally, then something is missing, and vice versa. They can be there emotionally, but if they're not there financially, there'll be some problems with the children surviving and eating and those kind of things. So we try to address both of those issues, or those sets of issues. And then finally, we have an annual fatherhood conference to celebrate healthy father-child relationships, because we know that there are a lot of good relationships out there that they don't get publicized necessarily. So what you have in front of you are amendments to our current contracts. The amendments will run from July 1st, 2016 to June 30th, 2017. And as I said earlier, this range of programs is designed to meet both the financial needs of children and the emotional needs of children. And that's why we have a variety of programs, from our workforce development programs to our boot camp for new dads at hospitals, to our help with custody and visitation. It's a wide-ranging selection of programs, and those have been developed over the years based upon the needs that we have seen in the community.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee? Councilwoman Conwell?
Through the chair to Director Grimes, if the funds aren't used for these individual programs, is it returned back to us? How does that happen? Do we write them a check for these amounts and allow them to utilize it? How is our oversight on that?
Well, no, all of the funds are expended on a monthly basis. Or on an annual basis. The providers provide invoices to our office on a monthly basis to be repaid for their services. And all of our programs have a blend of cost reimbursement and paper performance. So, for example, our workforce development program, you'll get a certain amount for cost reimbursement, then you get a certain amount of money for folks to complete the programs and the number of dads who get jobs. So, we hold the programs accountable.
Okay. That's the only question I have at the moment.
And Director Grimes, we're looking at a 1-year extension?
Yes, sir.
What was the thought behind that?
Yeah, we did an RFP for these services in 2014, and the RFP gave us an option to renew the programs for an additional 2 years. This is the second amendment. So next year we have to put out another RFP. But in July 1st of 2017, we'll do a new RFP next year.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Miller.
Mr. Chairman, Director, are there any changes either in
in the level of funding or the content of what is being funded for the coming year as opposed to the year that's just ending?
Actually, our funding had remained the same, and I really want to thank the County Council's support in making sure that we were able to maintain funding at 100% for the next biennial budget as we had in the past. So our funding has remained the same over the last couple of years.
And so it's the same list of programs and amounts that we currently are funding, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Increase.
Councilwoman Brown?
To that point, good morning, Mr. Grimes.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. The resolution states there are additional funds, so I just want to clarify: are there additional funds for this contract?
No, I think when they say additional funds, I think what it means is you extend the end of the contracts from June 30th of 2016 until until for another year, and the additional funds are just so that the same funds will roll over, will be part of the next year's budget. So,
there are no increases in funding. Were there any reappropriations or new programs?
No, these are the same programs as we had last year. Mm-hmm.
Council?
Mr. Grimes, a follow-up. Some of these may look similar in nature. How do we find out what how they're utilizing the funding? For example, some are very specific, that I know, domestic violence and things of that nature. But when we talk about the Centers for Families and Children, their Fathers Together program, how does that differentiate them from maybe some of these others that say Strong Fathers program, So.
Yeah, what the difference is, they have different curriculums. For example, the Fathers and Families Together program has a series of workshops. It's cooking with dads, a financial literacy component, a healthy relationships component. It's navigating community resources component. So there are different 4 components that fathers have to go through, a total of 20 hours of workshops before they can complete that. In addition, they've added through state funding a parenting class that fathers can go to, let's just say, for example, just to be a different parent. Now, you take that versus the Healthy Fathering Program, which is funded through University Settlement. That program is specifically designed to get fathers involved in their children's educational program at 4 K through 8 schools. So it's a little different curriculum, and they're working with a designated population of fathers who have children in school, where, for example, any father may be involved in the Fathers and Families Together program. The Healthy Fathers program is designed specifically for those with school-age programs, K through 8 school-age children. And then you look at the Strong Fathers program, for example, at Murders Taylor. What that is, that's located at Murders Taylor using the 24/7 dad curriculum. They also can take that program out to other community centers and those kind of things, and in a center such as Harbor Light. So that's one of the mobile programs that you can use based upon their curriculum. So, the programs have, a slightly different audience that they're addressing. And one of the things that I was trying to point out initially is what we try to do, is we try to have a range of programs to meet fathers where they are in their children's lives. For example, the Boot Camp for New Dads is for a new and expectant dad. Our program at the Children's Museum is designed for fathers who are in pre-K. So they're learning how to participate in activities with their children who are in that pre-K age group. The Healthy Fathers program is designed for those who have children in K through 8. Then our Prevention of Premature Fatherhood program is designed to address teens. So we try to meet fathers all along the spectrum of their children's lives. And then obviously the workforce development and the custody and visitation are designed for the adults.
So when they come, I'm assuming that a new father, with the advertisement that you do, and they call the number of the county, they come to your office?
They can either come to our office, or they can call one of 2 ways. They can call 211 And 211 has a listing of our programs, and they can then just refer them to a program, or they can come into my office specifically, talk to us about what issues they're dealing with, and then we will forward them to a program.
Okay, so that's how they get linked to the specific program for the ages of their children.
Correct.
As some of the fathers may be utilizing various programs
Absolutely.
depending on the age
Absolutely.
of their children.
Right,
Okay,
absolutely. Let's say a new dad comes out, a father is expecting a new child, and he's also looking for work. Well, we want him to go to boot camp for new dads so he can learn how to handle his child safely, how to deal with becoming a brand new dad, how to deal with postpartum depression, and all of those things related to being a new father, but at the same time, he's looking for work. So then he would go through one of our workforce development programs, either Passages or the Rising Above or Towards Employment for a job readiness program.
And a breakdown of that $70,000 for the advertising. I know we've talked about this
Right.
in the past. That gives things on the bus. Is it still things on RTA, the radio,
Yes.
announcements? How's that broken down?
That's broken down into, like you said, kiosks, radio advertisement. It's a bus advertisement. For the last couple of years, since we have we had a cut in our budget, not this year, but in previous years, we focused more on radio advertisement because that's been the best medium for us to get our message out. And what we try to do is we try to use a wide range of radio stations, because I always emphasize to everybody that the Fatherhood Initiative is for all fathers within the county, whether it be black, white, poor, rich, and everybody in the county. So with that, we advertise on both WENZ, WKNR, WZAK, the CBS radio station, which is 92.3 FM. So we try to structure our advertising so it reaches, all of the dads in the different markets. So that, for example, if we're talking about the Fatherhood Initiative, we're talking about boot camp for dads, we want to make sure that those folks who are in the Strongsville and Berea area know that we have a boot camp for dads at Southwest Hospital. And so they may listen to a different station than somebody who's living in East Cleveland. So we got to make sure that we have a variety of advertisements in the public awareness campaign.
Okay, is there a breakdown of...
At this point in time, the advertisement is, I would say, 80% radio, 20% other.
Okay, I was just wondering, is there a breakdown of if you put this information at hospitals when we're talking about the outer ring suburbs, is there a breakdown of how many people... I'm assuming that when they go to they're sent to a specific program, that there's some kind of documentation of where they're coming from, what areas.
Right, and what you'll find is there's pretty equal in terms of like the boot camp for new dads in between Southwest Hospital, which is in Berea, and say Hillcrest, which is in Mayfield Heights, versus Metro, which is on the west side. So it's pretty evenly dispersed. One of the locations we're trying to increase the participation is at the Stephanie Tubbs Jones Health Center in East Cleveland, where we're trying to strategically make sure that we utilize that program more, and that is going to be, if I might add, got great news yesterday from the State Department of Medicaid that they're allocating $200,000 as part of the attempt to reduce infant mortality. Well, they've allocated $2.9 million to come to Cuyahoga County, and they specifically said that $200,000 of that should come to the Fatherhood Initiative to expand our Boot Camp for New Dads program. So when we do some expansion and we talk about, where some gaps in services are, where we could increase it, that would be one of the areas where we would strategically try to make sure that more dads in that specifically area utilize the existing program.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Out of all these programs listed, I don't see any connection as far as health care, which is dealing with health disparities, and men are already in society not more tend to take care of their health, that would be a great component to connect them with their kids to get checkups, preventative health. So
absolutely. Yeah. And actually, the second or third year of the Fatherhood Initiative, which was in 2007, one of the programs we did fund was a direct program with South Point Hospital, which was part of the which is part of the clinic, for doctors from their hospital to come out to all the different programs where dads are and talk about preventative measures and those kind of things. So we funded that type of program in the past. We work closely with Dr. Motlin at the Minority Men's Health Center so that we do funnel fathers to the Minority Men's Health Center. And this year at our Fatherhood Conference, one of the workshops is going to be on health and wellness. So we are very much aware of the fact that, you know, in my terms a little bit, you know, you can't be a really good dad unless you're a healthy father. You got to take care of your health in order to be there, you know, 24/7, especially if you're an older dad and you have younger children. We can all relate to that. But no, we do know that fathers in general are more reluctant to go get checkups, and we are very much aware of the health disparities in minorities in terms of a number of different issues, from prostate cancer.
As well as the infant mortality and the lead.
Oh, no doubt. Oh, no doubt. And
so if they see their father, if their fathers are taking them to more wellness visits, that's a key component that we're not covering.
And that was one of the things that led to this collaboration with the state on the infant mortality, because for a long time, and I was at meetings with the Department of Medicaid, you know, they addressed infant mortality as if it was just affecting one parent. And we know that, you know, when a child dies, you know, it affects both the parents, whether you're living in the house or not. And things like, you know, we can talk all day about making sure that babies sleep on their back, making sure that they don't sleep with another parent and all those kind of things. But if both parents don't have that information, you know, one weekend, let's just say if they have a father has custody and visitation, well, if the mother has all that information, then on the weekend that the child is with the father, if he doesn't have the same information, then we can have issues. So I think we've been able to emphasize to the state the importance of, when you roll out different programs to address things like infant mortality, you have to address both the mom and the dad, and you know, and their extended families.
So who would be the one that is to talk with in regards to, as you're trying to roll out or add the health component in there? Who's going to meet on those things?
Me, I would be the lead, and I think that, you know, we have a monthly steering committee meeting where we have myself, all of the funded programs, and other organizations like CMSD, the Board of Health.
Isn't that every 3 months?
No, it's once. No, my meeting is once a month, the first Thursday of every month. And what we do is we all collaborate, you know, around different programs. And if we don't have a specific health and wellness program, we make sure that somebody is at the table who does have a health and wellness program, make sure that we get that information out to all of our funded programs.
So could you, before you leave, let Levine know when your next meeting is? I know I've been to the quarterly fatherhoods meeting several times, but I would like to come to yours too.
Absolutely.
Councilman Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My two questions are about collaboration and measurement. And first, regarding collaboration, can you talk about what the relationship is between your program and, for example, the infant mortality program or the early childhood program?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Invest in Children, both Invest in Children and Starting Point are on my steering committee. So I'll give you an example of collaboration between my department and Starting Point, for example. Starting Point has a committee called Men in Early Childhood. And so I serve on that committee. One of the things that they're trying to talk about is increasing the number of men who are in their early childhood centers and making sure that there are men role models coming to their early childhood centers, because it helps the overall attitude, especially of young boys. So what we've done is we've collaborated with them to do a Read to Me program. So we're working for them to make sure that we just finalized an agreement with them that we're going to make sure that all of the early childhood centers in the Central Promise neighborhood have a Read to Me program, and that we'll make sure that dads are there to read to me. And then backing up to when you were talking about infant mortality, what we know is that the fathers who go through our boot camp for new dad programs, the families are much, much less likely to have an infant mortality of their own, because during our class, the 1,000 dads that go through our class, we talk about shaken baby syndrome. We talk about not having children sleep with their parents. We talk about them sleeping safely on their back. So we work collaboratively with the Board of Health on that issue. Another collaboration that we have between the Fatherhood Initiative and the Board of Health is our Prevent Premature Fatherhood program, where we're out talking to teens about not becoming a father until you're emotionally and financially ready. We talk about safe dating relationships. We talk about safe sex. We talk about those issues. So that's a health issue that we're also, through the Board of Health, that we are also a part of through our Prevent Premature Fatherhood program. So that's kind of an example of, and if we talk about collaboration, one of the things we do, one of our program is our satellite office that we have in the child support building from the Office of Mediation, where we're funding an office from the satellite office to be in the child support building, so that when dads finish their administrative hearing, they can go right to this satellite office and establish custody and visitation. Because of the fact that, in the state of Ohio, if a child is born to unmarried parents, custody automatically goes to the mom, and you got to take that second step in order to establish custody and visitation. Well, we make it easier for them to do that right in the same building on the same day. And we, one of the things that I'm proud of is the fact that we've done some creative collaborations with child support. So now that, for example, dads are saying, they couldn't get a job because their driver's license is suspended. Well, we're now collaborating with child support, and we're reinstating driver's license with fathers if they agree to go through one of our workforce development programs. So we're reducing that barrier that they're saying to find a job. But in order for them, to get the license back, they have to agree to go through one of our job training and placement programs for 30 days, and then we try to place them in their job. And, some of those collaborations, some folks will, what's the value of it? Some of those collaborations would not be possible if we didn't have our Fatherhood Initiative, where we can, easily link folks from child support, folks from juvenile court. Juvenile court has now got a warrant recall program where they're allowing guys to come on Fridays if you've got a warrant recall, if you've got a warrant for your arrest, and then getting rid of the warrant that particular day. But then there's also a Fathers on Track program where, if someone has a warrant or if they're in contempt of court because of child support, the judges might even, in lieu of them going to jail, send them through one of our fatherhood programs. So that's another example of collaboration between departments. So, as we know, one thing that as a county we've always strived for, at least for the last 12 years that I've been here, is to have a no wrong door approach. That if you come into one department of the county for one thing, there's some other area of the county that you'll be able to be linked for the other services. And we're trying to make sure that, to our best of our ability, that's an approach that we have.
And Director, are we doing anything in terms of measurement or evaluation to determine whether the goals we have for this program are being achieved?
Yeah, each of our individual program has specific goals. For example, each of our each of our workforce development program have a specific goals of the number of folks that have to graduate and the number of jobs that we have to have. That they have to be placed. And so, last year our number of placements increased from 111 to 140. So we know that they're meeting the goals, their placement goals. Let's say, for example, and they're also doing pre and post tests to make sure that that the programs are being effective. Each of the person that goes through, let's say, boot camp for new dads, there's a pre-test in terms of their ability to know how to handle children safely, their understanding of postpartum depression, and then there's a post-test when they get finished. So each of the programs have pre and post tests where they're measuring the effectiveness of the program.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? No. Councilwoman?
You didn't mention Director Ideal Stream.
Ideal Stream?
Yeah, do we utilize them in any way?
Actually, we haven't utilized them specifically, but I've been asked to participate on several community programs that they have there, where they've talked about issues such as the Males of Color initiative that I serve on through the Cleveland Foundation, and also talking about the Fatherhood Conference on an annual basis when the Fatherhood Conference comes up. So not on an ongoing basis, but every once in a while they'll have a special forum that's talking about something related to fatherhood, and they always ask me to come and participate with that.
No, I was just wondering because I know they sent out a little newsletter. Ohio State Extension. There's a lot of county resources or things that we fund that send out their own little newsletter. I was just wondering if they could, you could have conversations with them where they could add fatherhood advertisement to it.
Absolutely. We're open to any new opportunities. And, and conversely, there's a lot of organizations that come to us and say, hey, can we be included in your fatherhood steering committee, that meets monthly, so that if someone has a new program in the community and they want to get an audience for it, they know that they can come to my monthly steering committee meeting where there's going to be, 30 or 40 organizations and get their information out to all of the organizations at once. And that's one of the things I did talk with Ms. Hall in reference to how can you, the most effective way for her to get her information out is come to the monthly meeting where there's like a lot of different organizations and get the information at one time.
And my last final thing, I guess, when you spoke about workforce, the pre-test and the post-test, so we've identified individuals, specifically fathers, who go through the program and are able to get employment after. But I know just because you're a dad or somebody helps you doesn't necessarily mean that you pay off your debts. Is there some kind of where they talk about how they should pay off their court debts? And, because many of them are in there for lack of driver license or got caught. So it just becomes a cyclical system. They don't take care of that and move on.
Right. But
are we working with them?
All in the elements of the workforce development programs, there are certain elements of it that are talking about resume writing, how to conduct an interview, what your skill set is in reference to finding a job. But we also talk about the ancillary issues that you might be having. It's interesting. We had a meeting yesterday down at Passages, and we were talking about the dads that go through there. And one of our directors said is that, if you go through our program and the only thing we've done is found you a job, we haven't done our job.
Right. Because
we haven't talked about how you're relating to your children. How are you taking care of some of those other issues, surrounding some problems that you might have. Because you just get a job and you're not taking care of your children, or you haven't dealt with any anger management issues or any of those kind of things, and we really have not fully been engaged as much as we should have been with you during that 30 days.
Yeah, teaching them priority and what needs to be for them to successfully move on. Especially that thing in regards to their funding that they need to pay back the court so they can actually be off the books and live a productive life.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. It's interesting how the wide range of calls we get through 211 and through our office. And a lot of times people think about fatherhood and you think about, well, child support or a job or custody. We got a call from a dad last week to 211 who said, I'm a father. I now have custody of my 4-year-old daughter, and I don't know how to comb her hair. So, I just don't know what to do. So he called the office, and we hooked him up with our Fathers and Families Together program, who's had some issues, dealt with those issues, and some of the dad have talked to a connection that they have with it, and we were able to get him some assistance. I just say that to say that there's so many different issues out here that we deal with in terms of parenthood that people would be surprised. We got times where the custodial parent suddenly died. And now the dad becomes the custodial parent, and some of the things that the mom had been taking care of, like child care and those kind of things, they hadn't had that responsibility. So all of a sudden they're thrust in that position. And so, hey, what do I do now that I'm the custodial parent? So, we get all different types of calls, and I think we're equipped.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but as you mentioned that, did that referral fall under one of the 8 contracts or 3 agreements?
Actually, it did. Actually, we forwarded them to the Fathers and Families Together program.
Which item is that?
That was item number, that's the FAF program, to the Center for Fathers and Children. Item B, 2B.
B, okay.
Yeah, because one of the workshops that they have through there is a networking workshop. And so that was one of the things that had come up during their networking workshop, where dads were just talking about different common issues. And,
That'd be a nice segue for one of your conference. You could have some salons come in and have the dads bring their daughters and
that's a great idea.
Learn how to do their hair.
Yeah.
Director Grimes, we have programming for pre-K, and you have the university settlement programming for K through 8. On the K through 8 at university settlement, how many fathers are actually being served in that program?
About 700 a year.
700 a year?
700 a year through the 4 schools, and it's interesting, for the 4 schools and a case management program they have at University Settlement. And it's interesting, they had a father-daughter dance in April, and I think they had 275 fathers and daughters attend, which really, addresses that myth of dads not necessarily want to be involved. And I found over the years that if you have a strategic program and you're working with dads and they're invited into the programs and you're giving them something to do, they will come. A perfect example of that is our Fathers Walk to School program that we have every year. Last year we had 167 schools participate and 8,700 dads. So, my point is that, sometimes you have to strategically, recruit and address fathers to do certain things. And, just dads, and then we talk about parents not to be involved in the school system. Sometimes we have to be inviting enough, to have our schools inviting enough that they want to come, that they don't feel like, they can't come or they're not welcome in the schools. So we found in the 4 schools that we're funding programs in, that fathers have become, an integral part of the school system. The other thing to think about that in terms of fathers being involved in the schools, one of the reasons that the schools like to have more dads involved, if you creatively ask them to do that, is because they are always looking for in-kind contributions. And when they have in-kind contributions, they can go to the state and say, here's some of the in-kind contributions that I'm getting for the community. And when they value volunteer hours, they value that at $21 an hour. So let's just say you got fathers that are involved in your schools on a $10 on a 10-hour a week basis. They will take that, extrapolate that by to $21 and say, hey, here's our in-kind contribution that we're getting from Dad. Last year we had a total of 1,500 volunteer hours, and so that was a total of $30,000 in in-kind contributions that the schools can claim when they go look for some additional funding, just like early child care centers. When they
are you saying that this provides some leverage for the schools as
absolutely.
well?
No question.
Let me make sure I understand. The $52,000 goes to the university settlement.
Yes.
And they use it to have
activities for dads to be involved in the school on the days.
Where the fathers volunteer.
Yes, the fathers volunteer, but the funding goes for the staff from university settlement for the expenses associated with the activities that they have.
Creating the environment for 700 fathers to come in and volunteer at the school where their child is.
I'm sorry.
Yes. For 700 fathers to come in to the school where they have children. Where
Correct.
Their child
yes,
is.
where they have children.
Okay. Sorry, sometimes you just take me slow, so I make sure I
No
catch
problem.
Any further questions? Next question, Al.
Yes, sir.
I received some information, and I need you to let me know. We have the item E, the Children's Museum of Cleveland, receiving $30,000.
Correct.
Let me know if I'm incorrect or not. But has the Child Museum closed?
Yes. What happens is the Children's Museum is closed, but they are doing mobile classes. Mobile forums around the community. For example, they took the activity that they were having at the museum, and they had it at the Fulton area library. Same activity, brought in the same people to conduct the activity, and they held the activity at the Fulton library. So in the interim, while they're moving into their new space on Euclid Avenue, it's one of the older mansions. It's going to be a great place. They're continuing to do their activities, but they're doing them in different locations around the country in the interim.
Okay, so my understanding is they are reopening just a few miles away in University Circle in 2017.
Yes, it's 2017. I think they had to have they had to pay 50% of the construction cost, I believe, before they could go forward, and they've exceeded that. And the projected date for the new location is going to be 2017, and it's if you have not had a chance to see where their new facility is, it's I can't remember exactly what of the mansions. It's like near 34th or 35th in Euclid, but stop by there and see that facility and see their plans for redoing their facility. It is going to be a showcase for Cleveland when they get it done.
But right now, since they closed in January of this year, you have still been able to deliver service through their mobile.
Right, for the same programs, just at different community locations.
And I'll ask that same question, which really I'd like to know for each of the items. How many fathers have we served with each of the
510 dads. 510 dads, and I want to say 2,100
for the
children through the Children's Museum over the last year.
Repeat those numbers one more time. Children's Museum.
Yeah, 510 dads, and I want to say 2,100 children, like about 4 fathers per parent at those locations. I'll get you the specific numbers, but that's pretty close.
Can you give me the fathers served from A through I? You've already given me I and
let's see. And the previous A is 1,900. So there's 1,900 fathers 1,900 teens that have been involved in our Prevention of Premature Fatherhood program.
1,900 teens.
Teens, that's when we're going out talking to teens. The Metro Health System, the boot camp for new dads is 1,110 to go through the boot camp for new dads. Department of, at the Office of Mediation, we have 703 walk-ins to do services. At Career Development and Placement, we have 95 completions, 35 placements during the year. Domestic Violence and Advocacy Center, we serve 121 families. But with those 121 families, we have 1,309 supervised visits and 422 exchanges. And that's a very interesting program because in addition to the supervised visits, what they also have are weekend exchanges. Let's just say, for example, Councilwoman Brown has custody of the children, and the father of her children comes to pick them up every Friday. Well, every time they come to pick up the children, there's some issue. The new boyfriend is there, or they don't like each other anymore. Well, in order to alleviate that, they can do a weekend exchange at the Domestic Violence Center, where the custodial parent can drop the child off on Friday, the non-custodial parent picks them up 15 minutes later, and then they reverse the roles on Sunday. And it takes away a lot of that drama.
So you're present in that transaction from one parent to another.
Yes, and there's somebody from DVAC who's monitoring that and making sure that, the custodial parent is on time, the non-custodial parent is on time, picking them up, and in the reverse, things happen on Sunday.
So one, are you ensuring that the transfer actually happens?
Yes.
And that it happens safely
and yes, safely and timely, because what happens is a lot of times someone will say, every time I come to pick up my child, you're not there, okay? Or the other parent will say, you're supposed to pick up the child at 5 o'clock, you don't show up till 7. Well, this way, there's no question as to whether or not who was late or who was early, because they're checking in.
Because you're present.
With our person.
So there was 121 families, 422 exchanges,
and 1,300 supervised visits.
Supervised. What is the difference between a supervised visit and an exchange?
Well, the exchange is just a weekend exchange. A supervised visit, let's just say the court will say to a family, well, because of maybe some domestic violence or something that's happened within the family, to the non-custodial parent, well, you can see your child, but it has to be a supervised visit. You can't, and then so you have to bring, the supervised visit takes place at the Domestic Violence Center, and then they try to have enough supervised visits to where, they have whatever issues they were having, they've dealt with, and then they can just go back to a regular non-supervised visit at the homes. So that's the difference between, the 2-hour visit with the child and the weekend exchange, which is a totally different issue. It's interesting because that, in terms of supervised visitation relationship with the court, this is the only free supervised visitation program in Cuyahoga County. Otherwise, parents would have to pay, to have a supervised visit with their child. The Centers for Families and Children, we serve about 200 dads a year through those programs. That was Career Development Placement Strategies. We have approximately 90 completions and 33 placements into jobs.
Which item are you referring to now?
Number 8, 2A.
Okay.
Let's see, we talked about those 3.
C was the domestic violence and child advocacy.
Right. Yeah, and D, with JDC advertising, we have about 2,100 calls a year that come in between calls to 211 and calls to our office. So we know that what we're doing is we're getting, responses to our radio ads and our billboards and things. We talked about the Children's Museum. Murders Taylor, the Strong Fathers Program, we have approximately, brought that information for me. 75 graduates, and that's a 6-week curriculum the guys have to go through. Where else our connected passages connecting fathers, we have about 110 completions and 48 jobs towards employment. We have 80 completions, 33 jobs. University Settlement, we talked about that organization where there's,
80 completions and how many jobs?
34. 34. Okay. And one of the things, and when you look at that, it's just one of the programs where towards employment. They've got this specific program, which is called Network for Success. And the difference between this program and the other programs they have is they also have a fathering component to it. And so, you know what, I guess overall, and this was one of the things that I was talking about in terms of improvement from year to year. This year, well, we served about 5,900 dads through our directly funded programs. We have a number of 560 fathers that come to the Fatherhood Conference. And then we have 8,700 dads that are involved in our boot camp for new dads. So we're touching about 15,000 fathers and family members a year.
So I mentioned, we talked about the pre-K, K through 8. Do you do anything that touches the lives of the children and their fathers from 9th through 12th grade?
That's our Prevention of Premature Fatherhood program. We're talking with teens.
Which one is that?
That is the program that is agreement number A. That's through the Board of Health. That's the Prevent Premature Fatherhood program.
Where do you interact with the children 9 through 12? Is it
high schools? We have those. Like, for example, we've had them at the gun school. That we caught them at a youth summit at Tri-C. There's a county diversion program, Cleveland Heights High School, Lake Erie International, different community groups around the city.
So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to connect dots. You just mentioned Cleveland Heights, that you're there.
Yes.
Okay. And we have our Closing the Achievement Gap initiative in Cleveland Heights.
Right.
Are you doing parallel work?
Yes.
Are you connected with them?
Well, you know what?
What is going on?
Yeah,
in
one of the
Heights?
things, and we need to do that with that. One of the initial components of the Premature Fatherhood program, when they had to close the Achievement Gap at Glenville High School, that was one of the first programs that they brought in to address those 9th graders. So it's something we definitely could do with the Close the Achievement Gap teens in Cleveland Heights. And we did it right there at the school.
And my question, though, is you're there now, they're there now. Are you at this moment interacting with them, or are you both in the school operating your
I have to find out whether or not that program, this program was specifically for the Close the Achievement Gaps, or if it was just, I think this was just for teens overall, not specifically for the Close the Achievement Gap students there.
Look into it and then get back to us. Let us know.
For sure.
Are there any other questions from the committee? Okay, I think we've teased out quite a bit from you today. One, I'd like to congratulate you again on those state dollars.
Thank you.
The Fatherhood Initiative, again, is receiving $200,000 to assist in the infant mortality area, a very critical area. And as Chairman of Health and Human Services, I think I will put out a press release as well for what is going on in this area. So again,
I can provide you with the press release that came out from the state.
Excellent.
So you'll have an opportunity to do that. I'll make sure that Ms. Ross does it.
Excellent. Please get that to Levine Ross. Okay. Sure. Yes.
Do we need suspension on this legislation?
Do we need suspension, or are you able to go through 3 readings?
Actually, I would hope that we would suspend it because of the fact that the new contracts start on July 1st.
July 1st.
And I'll just say that the amendments have been in the system for a long time, just trying to get through the process.
I will make a motion to recommend 2016-0100 with recommendation for passage on second reading suspension.
Thank you.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right. Is there any miscellaneous business? Okay. Chrissy, I'd like to excuse our two colleagues who are not present today. Dave Greenspan and, I'm sorry, not Councilman Jack Strong. Thank you. All right. All right, if nothing else holds our attention, our meeting is adjourned.
Mr. Chair, we do have two people signed in for public comment.
Oh, that's right. All right. Please ask them to come forward one at a time.
First, we have Ms. Liu.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. And I'm glad I can be here again to learn the good services which will actually help lots of people, including the people staying in all the shelters. But unfortunately, I have to still address an issue. In the beginning of last month, we finally had a good public hearing for people to hear all the people's out, put it that way. And so I waited to see what would happen. And unfortunately, last time when we had a committee meeting, I did also address the same issue about the grievance procedures or process. And now I can come up to tell you honestly, everything Mr. Morse said that here on May 4th has never happened in reality. The best evidence I could have is about the mine incidents, which just happened 30th April this year, just a few days before the public hearing. When I got this physical assault, I filed a police report and I filed grievance, not only against the attacker. As always, I had to file against the staff who didn't do their jobs. And then the day before public hearing, somebody I have never met before showed up to talk to me about this case. So later, Niak and myself, we both got the email and letter saying the investigation of this case was inconclusive. But strangely, City Prosecutor's Office informed me they wouldn't prosecute the office because they got information that I was the aggressor. I threw the first punch. For the same incident, now you have two different results to tell different entities. This is the reason why I have been coming to learn things and to find out what I could do or what kind of help I could get for people in my situations when we are staying in the shelter. I don't know why this still happens again. Not only is the staff in the shelters don't handle these kind of situations, even the people in the frontline main office. This person came to talk to me the day before public hearing. She personally assured me that no information will go out to anywhere, even City Prosecutor Office, without her approval. So how come there are two different information out about the same investigation for the incident? And I'm very frustrated. If Frontline cannot offer me the justice, why you have to do that so the city will also deny me? I really don't understand. I really need help. This is not the first time, and this won't be the last time. I assure you that. Thank you.
Chrissy, our next speaker.
Next, we have Mr. William Tarter.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the Health and Human Service and Aging Committee. So I have just a few quick items before you. One is I want to say thank you for your passage of the resolution for public transit. I know that that's something that a lot of seniors that I work with care very deeply about, and we're very concerned about the route cuts and the fare increases. So I want to thank you for your unanimous support. I also wanted to offer my personal endorsement and support of the Fatherhood Initiative, because I went through the Daddy Boot Camp when I was a new dad. And for me, that was very powerful and very profound. And I really appreciated that program. So I wanted to just offer my support for Mr. Grimes and the initiative that he did, because it's a great thing for dads. I'm just going to send you guys an email. I'll send it to either Christina or to Joe about a couple events that are coming up this Friday that, if your schedule permits, I'd love for you guys to stop by. One is a county program that will discuss Medicaid policy changes that was going to take place at the Global Center for Health Innovation from 9 until 12:30. There have been a series of Medicaid policy programs that have been put forward. I had a chance to attend one out in South Euclid, and Councilman Simon was there. And they have been very helpful, very engaging to the community. With all the changes going on in Medicaid, if you're able to stop by, either it's an education opportunity for yourself or to talk with others who are affected by the Medicaid changes, I think it would be very beneficial if your schedule permits. Also, at the same time, however, is an event at Corporate College East, Cuyahoga Community College, Corporate College East, from 8 o'clock until 4 o'clock is a conference on how to combat financial exploitation of the elderly. So as we face increasing numbers of seniors in the county, there's increasing cases of people trying to figure out how can we prevent seniors from being financially exploited. So this is going to be a conference from 8 o'clock until 4 o'clock on Friday that I will send you the event information if your schedule permits at any point to stop by the conference. I feel that the resources will be helpful to you and to your constituents. So tough testimony to follow, but I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen. Thanks.
Chrissy, has anyone else signed in for comment?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, if there's nothing else that holds our attention, our meeting is adjourned.